Hey everybody, today we're going to be looking at our first look into Elven Society and Dragonlance at Qualinost. Greetings everybody, this is a Dungeon Master's Guide to Dragonlance. So, first of all, we had in my little break, we had a name change, and it used to be called, this series used to be called Dragonlance for 5th edition. Honestly, that was probably not the right name for it, because only a small part of what we were actually talking about was transforming the old Dragonlance modules into a 5th edition product. A lot of it was mostly just like kind of walking through each chapter and kind of giving tips on running them, little changes, little tweaks here and there, or ideas along the way. And I've long thought that the name of the series should change, but Dragonlance Nexus is coming out very, very soon with a Dragonlance 5th edition guide conversion on their website, and I've actually used a lot of their stuff in both my game and in these videos, and so I'm really looking forward to that. But if they're going to do all the heavy lifting for us, then I think we need to get down to just the gameplay, and so we're going to be focusing much more on that. And we're going to, of course, when the finished product comes out, I'm going to be doing a review of it here. I love the work they're doing over at Dragonlance Nexus. I highly recommend if you are dungeon mastering Dragonlance, then you need to be on that website anyways. But I'm really looking forward to that. But if they're handling the conversion part of it, then we can really focus on running the game instead of tweaking it for 5th edition. But this is part that in my game, honestly, I wasn't happy with it. It is. So what we've done is we went through the caravan fight, and in my game and also in the videos, we took a little stop with the testify sorcery right after that. But we are heading into the world of the elves, the Qualinesti, into the city of Qualinost, and there is a lot here, and I don't think I paced it very well. And I really do think that this is going to be the real focus of what we as Dungeon Masters need to think about through this whole section. Because we're going into a very history-heavy segment of the game. We're going into Pax Tharkus, into Thorbarden, and every Skullcap. All of these things are there because of a thing that has happened, and they are very, very important for that. For that event. A lot of it coming out of the Dwarfgate Wars, a lot of it coming out of the Cataclysm before that, and knowing even just a little bit about the history is going to help your players understand why all these things connect the way they do. In the meantime, like the original modules, had these massive sections as you're walking to Qualinost, describing the journey, because it is a hidden city and it's really hard to get to. And going heavy on that, I realize as I'm dungeon mastering this, I've been talking for a long time at this point, and so that's what we're going to think through today. Is how do we convey the history? How do we convey these very, very important characters that are being introduced to us for the first time? And how do we keep it moving for our party? Now, as a DM, the first question we need to ask is what kind of players do we have? Are they do they really enjoy the role playing aspect of it? There's a lot you can do here, and that being the case. Do they not enjoy it? Then we might think about cutting it shorter than we otherwise would. Even then, there are things that we need to do. There are characters that we need to introduce. So presumably in the caravan fight, and by the way, I didn't give my disclaimer, but you should have figured it out by now. Players, this is going to be filled with spoilers. And so if you haven't played this section, don't watch this. Come back later. If you this is meant for as a conversation between dungeon masters, would-be good dungeon masters, and people who just really enjoyed this section and really want to learn more about it. Presumably, we met Gilthanas at the caravan fight. Now, Gilthanas is one of the 3 children of the speaker who we'll meet later. But also descendant of Kith Kanan, who will be very important very soon when we get to the Sla Marie. On the way, we're going to meet Portheos, who is the elder son. And then when we get to town, we're going to meet Laurana. Now, if you are playing the characters from the book or from the modules, we have Tanis here. Tanis is going to know these people already. And there's a history there with Laurana when they were very young. They decided they were going to get married, but in the meantime, it's been a while. And Tanis has grown up a little bit, and to an extent, Laurana has not. We're going to kind of get more into their characters in a little bit, but he knows these people already. A lot of people will be meeting these people for the first time. So if we have Tanis, we're going to know a little bit something about specifically Laurana, but all of them. There's a lot of different issues that we can cause here that I think we should be wary of. Throughout this whole section, we have a bunch of people who are very mistrustful of other peoples and races. The temptation of the DM is just to treat all these people as just raging, terrible racist characters, and not to put any more investment or depth into them. And I do think that's a mistake. I'm speaking specifically here of Portheos, but we're also going to get more into that in Thorbarden, and we're going to be walking like this tightrope of maintaining sympathy for these people who are now, have in a way kind of caused their own problems by isolating, but now feeling the pain of those decisions, in that the Draconian army's coming through, and they're kind of picking everybody off because everybody's so fragmented. And so, to a certain extent, we're getting what we deserve here, but it would be a mistake to not also say, but at the same time, we don't want this to happen. And so I think there's a couple of different ways that we can kind of temper that reaction with Portheos in when we get to those things. So Gilthanas in my game was very much a more straightforward, heroic type character. He's probably going to be the one that kind of sticks with you a while. Laurana is very, very naive, and can be, a little whiny. But I think that there's a way that we can present that while still keeping sympathy with her, because, if you've read the novels or if you've looked forward, she's super important as a character, and especially if you have Tanis with her. And so the way I kind of imagine all of this happening is between the three is that Portheos is a little dismissive of the mass of the refugees, especially at first, but over time warms up to you and your party because you have kind of proven your worth at this point, if that makes sense. And I specifically want to show him as somebody who is very much redeemable, and especially because he's very much likely to take over for this people, when his father eventually dies, that that this is somebody who can grow. And so when Gilthanas comes back and they're going to have the meeting with the speaker, if I were playing this again, I would have Portheos be the one ultimately to invite the heroes to the meeting, and recognize that they have something important to add. Laurana, I want to present her as really kind of a victim of being underestimated at first. Like Gilthanas is probably the most sympathetic with her, but Portheos and their father are all just like, whenever she wants is like, oh, I can help with this fight. They're all like, no, you can't. No, you can't. And so I'm as the DM, I would want to kind of swing the party's opinion of her back and forth a little bit as they're trying to figure out what's going on with her. So at first, like, sympathy is high with her, that, I even in this game, and I would do this part again, I had her be the guide for the party through the city. And she can kind of start off like reluctantly explaining, it's like I'd love to be out there. I know how to take care of myself. I'd love to be out there, but they won't let me go. They kind of dismiss me, and all the party's like, oh, that's terrible. They really should trust you more. And then as time goes on, you get a little bit more of her naivete and how much she can, have, undue emotional reactions to things. The reason we want to start there is because that she is going to grow in the series. And if we have her starting off as the great general, then that growth in her no longer has an impact. And I'm not a fan of kind of like the Mary Sue type characters who can do everything right off the bat, and having her be like in this sort of position gives her a lot of room to grow into the great leader that she will be. So that's the kind of how I would slowly introduce and let the players get a feel for these characters. But the history is kind of the bigger thing, and that starts with the walk to Qualinost, which I would greatly cut down on and just let you know. It's like, guys, this is a very long walk. Y'all walk for several hours, type of a thing. But the thing I would change now is to do this more narratively instead of just with exposition. And so certain things we can just play off, like first of all, lengthen their stay a little bit to at least a couple of days. And that way they can, you can present it like at the beginning, like, okay, they're meeting with the speaker. They're going to let you know when we've decided something. And like, Portheos can keep like showing up and very curtly, like asking them very specific questions until he's finally like, look, can y'all just come with me? You seem to be much better at this than I assumed. Not probably in those words, but, kind of getting the point across that, all right. But giving them a chance to, first of all, we haven't had time to shop in forever. Like literally, this is probably the first time we've actually shot for things, unless they did it in the very, 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 very beginning of the game. And so, giving them that opportunity. But everywhere they go, like people are packing up things, and you can I had. This scene worked out really, really well. We had they were trying to find some information. And they went to a library, and like all the books are there, but the librarian really wanted to help them, and so started looking for books, and would just disappear. And like we did a postscript scene of the librarian, like long after they had left, finally finding the book in the bottom of this box that he'd packed up, and he's like, "I've got it." Oh, where are they? And you can have stuff like that, but like everywhere they go, it's like, do you have? I think I do. Hold on. They're like they get opening up a crate, and there's straw coming out. They're trying to find some potions or something as they're packing up, and let them be the ones to start asking, and they can get it from the townspeople as to what's going on. That we're heading out of here. And more people are leaving every day. Shops, shops are shut down. At the at the inn, they can hear some rumors about what's going on at Pax Tharkus, and that might prompt them to ask about Pax Tharkus, and they can tell the story of Kitkanon and the building of Pax Tharkus and what it was meant to be, but it hasn't been that forever, and just kind of hint at those things. We can get more into Dwarfgate Wars later, but you might bring it up, and it's like, and that stupid thing closed it up, and it's been closed for nearly 300 years. But now the dragon armies are over there. And so we can pick up a lot of this stuff, and then the players can start to realize, like, oh, there's a bunch of prisoners over there, like a lot, and they maybe they start talking with Lorana. It's like, is there any way to save them? And they hope the whole goal is, let's prompt the conversation about rescuing the prisoners. You can bring it up as the DM through the mouths of somebody at the meeting later, but I do think it would be more meaningful if they're just trying to talk about, it's like, where do we put these people? We don't want the dragon armies and it's like, well, what about Thor Barden? Everybody kind of laughs at him, and it's like, well, the dwarves aren't going to let him in. It's like, well, if the armies are coming, they might. You can put that in somebody's mouth, but it would be much better for that to flow out of a desire of the players. It's like, hey, can we go rescue these people from Pax Tharkus? And you can have some argument about that, and then finally entrusting them in saying, all right, well, yeah, and I don't know where else to tell you to head after you save him except south to Thorbarden, and maybe the dwarves will open the gate, or let you find the gate. And we'll get to that later, but present it as like, this is a desperate thing. Really the only shot you got is to go south. We don't, and if they or you can even bring up, like, the option is, like, if you can't find the dwarves, maybe you can find somewhere to hide out in the mountains until all this passes, and that will set up our later sequence there. So Gilthanas probably volunteered to come. If Gilthanas can be a player character, you just send him as an NPC or whatever the case may be. If Lorana is not a player character, I would have her volunteer to go and her get shot down. Or even if she is a player character, and have her sneak out later. That would actually be kind of a fun side quest, But the point being is, like, they're dismissing her again, and Here is where I don't like what the book says. And actually, the 15th anniversary edition, I found out later, did it more the way I did it. But both the 3.5 and the original edition have it so that, like, after this meeting, like, these Draconians come, like, sneak in to kidnap Lorana. And that it doesn't seem like something they would do. It doesn't seem like something that would succeed, and it seems very abrupt. Like in the original version, Laura's like literally singing a song, going "Good night, la 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 la, good night, have sweet dreams, farewell. I'm walking off. I got kidnapped by Draconians," and I thought that it didn't feel right. First of all, especially if your players are only there for a very, very brief period of time, I'd like for them to get some rest. But secondly, it doesn't it doesn't feel right. Even if you can explain it later, it just feels really weird. Especially if you've spent all this time explaining that this place is really hard to find. It's really well guarded. All these, people, they're packing up to leave and all this stuff. And then Draconians come to just kidnap her. I didn't like. What I had happen is when we left and we were on the road, and Lorana snuck out and was following us at a distance. And as we were kind of navigating between patrols and stuff, she gets caught up in one, and that's in like the party has a chance to, kind of hears her and goes chasing after her. And my party, and I kind of had to improvise this at the end because I was just going to have them disappear, but my party really rolled well to keep pace with these Draconians that had kidnapped her. And so I had them go into a field where they ran across the dragon Blaze, and that stopped them. And even had like this tense scene of Blaze like sniffing the air and realizing that might be somebody there and walking forward and hiding. And my Kinder was out in front, and she recognized it was time to hide, not out of fear, of course, because Kinder don't feel fear, but just tactically, and rolled extremely well on her stealth to avoid that. But that can get her, have the same effect of the kidnapping without it being just what seems to me is misplaced. And so that is what happened in my game. As I say, the 15th edition version also has this kidnapping on the road instead of at Qualinost, which it just makes more sense to me. The whole road experience is greatly expanded in the 15th edition, and not really in ways that I liked very much, because they don't forward like the overall plot, and it just seems like now that we're trying to get to something really cool, we just have more obstacles on the way, and so I wasn't a huge fan of it, but it is there. If that's something that you're looking for, like some encounters on the way. But back to the meeting. The idea is going to be hatched that if we go through the Sla Mori, the secret way, then we actually might have a chance there. And Gilthanis volunteers to take them through that path. So, Qualinesti. So, like I said, you can play this very short or pretty long, and give your players a chance to actually talk to some people at the tavern, and do a little shopping, talk to some shopkeepers, kind of get a feel for the town, the tenseness of everybody packing up to leave. Like, they go in front of shops and people are loading up their crates onto wagons and stuff, and I think it's a good opportunity to get a feel for the elves as a people, because despite the fact that you're going to have some with you for a long time, like Gilthanis or Lorana, depending on how y'all choose to go. we don't get as focused of a look at Qualinesti as we do with like Thorbarden, where the history of the Dwarfgate Wars just become really super important very, very soon. And so they'll start heading over to the Sla Mori, which is where we will start next. Oh, thank you so much. I'm really glad to be back into this series. We're going to jump into a bunch more of this stuff. Please do hit that subscribe button. It helps me out quite a bit. And if you enjoy these videos, share them with your friends, especially DM friends who might be looking at Dragonlance as a system. It's been a lot of fun, and we are my party is about to reach all the dwarves, and I'm really excited about it, and so we'll keep hammering away at it. And until next time, I really do appreciate you hanging out, and we'll catch you next time.